I made an error. You can't cut and paste gradients from one thing to another. But what I did do was save a preset called Gradient Colors, and was able to drop that onto this shader as well. So that's how we get the gradient specular color back into here from the other one. So there we are, and we have our gradient back, which is our rainbow effect, and it keys on the level of gray in the texture. And there we are. There's we can see it reacting with the light fairly well. And if we want, we can also take the specular amount and duplicate it, and then just change the pattern around a bit. Let's turn it around and rotate it in the y-axis 180 degrees. And we'll see what we get. We'll get a little more breakup of the panel lines in there. That looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks fairly nice. And we're getting some nice lighting on there. Look at that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so that's how to do that, and let's go into our main material and sort of take down the specularity a bit. We're adding there, so let's just subtract a little bit on the opacity, and we'll take down the diffuse amount just a bit, just so that it isn't too overwhelming. And we can probably also take one of these specular channels and duplicate that and bring it up above the gradient, and make it the Fresnel to take it down a little bit. That's better. That gives us a nice texture on there. Now we move into our bump mask, which is, as I said, it is this, and this is how this works. And this should be coming up from below. Let's look at that again, and it looks like it's mismapped here. So we're going to have to do the texture locator and rotate it in another axis. Is this the z-axis? I believe it is. Let's take a look and see what we can do. Okay, we've got that settled. There was a little problem with mirroring and with size of the map. So it seems to be fixed now. So now we have the place for our bump map, and let's copy this now that we have it placed correctly. We'll duplicate this, and then we'll use this as the bump map, so we'll make it a bump map. But we aren't seeing any bump. Why is that? Well, because of the settings of the main material. The main material needs to have a bigger bump amount. So the displacement distance is now only about 3/4 of an inch. So we'll bring that up to a couple feet, and we'll zoom in so that we can see what it's doing. We're starting to get a little bit, but it's still not enough. So we will bump up the bump strength. There we are. That looks pretty good. Let's give it a little more, though. Let's bring it up to 600 or so, 800. Let's bring up the displacement distance too, just to be safe. And then we can go back up to our diffuse amount for the grid and take that down a little bit, because it's a little bit strong for us. Okay, so now this is starting to look pretty darn good. And it's still nice and smooth, and the bump is in the correct spot. That looks very nice. Okay, now you can see over here, this section, the noise that we've put on it to break up the reflection is really big. So let's see what we can do about that. Deflector housing, is that what it is? Let's see. Yes, that's one of them. So let's open that up and see what size the fractal noise is. Yeah, it's pretty big. So let's put 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. That's a little better for the specular. It's maybe still a bit. Let's do 0.2. Okay, that's better. And we'll go over into the diffuse amount as well and bring that down. Okay, now it's just a, that's a good fractal noise size. Something that won't look too blotchy. Okay, so where's the deflector housing dark? Is that it? No. Is that it? Is it the deflector mounts? That's part of the fun of trying to figure out what you're doing, is that all these, especially if models have been worked on by another person, sometimes things aren't what you would call them, so you have to do a little searching around. More fractal noise here. Oh yeah, that's really big, so 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. That takes that down nicely. And more deflector mounts. Okay, well, there's various areas that need attention there, but we'll see what we're doing. Material, Enterprise secondary hull engine forward. That's, yeah, that's another area that has gigantic fractal noise. So go in there. 2.2, 0.2. All right, that fixes that pretty well. And in fact, let's grab this copy. And we'll go back down to our secondary hull sides and bottom, and let's add that. There's already one here, so let's turn that on. Yeah. So let's make that our 0.2. It's pretty good, and 0.1 for this one. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good texture for that. It breaks it up a little nicely. We'll take down the fractal noise a little bit, because it's a little bit strong. But that just breaks up the light and makes it look less plasticky. We'll make that additive. All right. Well, that's a convoluted way of showing you how to do this kind of thing. Obviously your own models will differ, but the basic principles are the same. To be able to get this kind of original motion picture texture on your ships. And of course, the way it looks will depend greatly on your lighting. This is a very simple lighting rig here, but if you are very careful with where you place the lights and how you assign your surfaces, it'll look pretty good. So good luck and have fun.